guys, it's Rebecca Reset, and in today's video I'm going to be finally doing a recap and talk through of my experience depotting. Now, I was not like new to depotting, like I had never done it myself, but I had watched several depotting videos. I used to watch Georgia Harris here on YouTube do depotting videos, but I guess she's made all those videos private because I cannot find them anymore. And some of the other depotting videos and stuff that I watched just were not as good as hers. She showed different methods on how to depot products and things like that, which was very informative for me. I used to watch everyone. I watched all of them that she had ever filmed, and that's actually how I found her channel. Was I was, scrolling through YouTube in the middle of the night and found a video and clicked it and watched it. I was intrigued. So this video is more of a recap of the depotting process. I talk about pros and cons, tools, heat, no heat, types of alcohol, that kind of thing, and I will show you the end result and the packaging. So if that is what you want to learn more about, or if you're interested in depotting, then keep on watching because I will go into a little bit more specifics, because I didn't do a whole lot of talking when I recorded the videos. Now, my flat iron is on metric. It's not on like the US, which is standard. It does Celsius, not Fahrenheit. So this is a flat iron that I've had for probably 15-20 years. It is a ceramic one. As you can see, the plates are white on it, and it goes up to 205 degrees Celsius. So low, it starts off at like 140 degrees Celsius, and then it goes up from there. I left it on about 200 degrees Celsius the entire time, and I made sure that the temperature was steady. I did use this as my heat source. Anybody who's worried about heat around children or things like that, I probably would not recommend doing depotting near them, because even from basically here back, this was still pretty hot, but from here forward, even the outside of it is still pretty hot. Like I have a hard time even touching the ends of it if I was to like try and flat iron my hair. So I have to stay basically, I usually put my thumb on the little meter thing where I can read the temperature. I usually put my thumb there and I stay further back when I'm actually using it on my hair on clients, just for the simple fact that this sucker gets hot. And for those that don't know, centigrade is quite a bit different than Fahrenheit. When you're looking at temperatures for like, I don't know, Canada or the UK or any other country than the backwards US of A, you're gonna find that they use Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. I think we are the only country in the world that uses Fahrenheit and the standard system versus metric, and I kind of wish that we didn't, because everywhere else in the country, like even north, south, whatever, if you go to like Mexico, as far as I know, Mexico also uses they use metric instead of standard, and Europe uses it. I think basically everywhere else in the world uses metric instead of standard. So keep that in mind when you're looking at, flat irons that go up to, I think people used to look at like if they go up to like 450 degrees, and anything over 450 degrees for hair can be quite damaging. And I know my hair can handle it because I've got very coarse, very thick hair, but it is what it is. So anyways, I did use my flat iron. I use 91% isopropyl alcohol, and I will show you some comparisons. So you have 70% and you have 91%. Now, 70% is really good if you're like trying to clean an affected area, like a bruise or a cut or a wound or an animal or things like that, or if you just need it to mix it with something to thin it out just a little bit. Like say you have a perfume that's really pungent, you put a splash of isopropyl alcohol in it, it kind of thins it out a little bit because the alcohol evaporates. You're not going to have too much of an alcohol smell in the fragrance because they already use alcohol in fragrance to thin it out. 91% is a little bit better for makeup in that it's like less watered down, I guess is the easiest way to explain it, and a little goes a long way with that. I have a bunch of these pipettes that I used to use with making makeup and stuff like that. I even have like glass droppers and stuff like that. I just keep one of those here in my bathroom so that I have it. I never know when I'm gonna need it, so I always just leave it in here. And it's always is what I use it for is with alcohol. I just kind of dunk it in and hit the bulb and pull it out and close the lid, and then I've got alcohol to use. The other thing is I bought a depotting tool off of Amazon. Now, I got like a kit that had, let's see if there's should still be in here. Yeah, I've got just a few left of the little magnetic backs that go on these. I ran out of the round ones. All I have left are these like little rectangular ones. And they all have like 3M stickers on the back. I found with this tool though, it wasn't quite thin enough to use on some of the pans that were like ones that were like butted up right against the edge. And thankfully, I have carving tools for like wax and clay and like things like that you use for art, because I do jewelry carving and we do lost wax casting. So this here was a little bit too thick. It is about 2 millimeters thick, at least 2 millimeters thick on both ends. So both ends are the same thickness, but one is rounded, whereas the other one is pointed. This was an okay tool. I mainly use this to like scrape gunk off the back, which was the gluey substance that they used to adhere the product into the packaging. I also used it to kind of pry a little bit. So this I found was a little bit too thick, so it might be better if you go out and you buy like clay carving tools for like polymer clay. That might be a better option for you, because they're gonna be thinner, they're gonna be more flexible and bendable, and that's what you're gonna need on some of these pans in order to get around the edge. So then getting into the actual like pans and stuff, it really just depends on where they're sat inside the compact or whatever packaging that they're in, how easily they'll remove. And since I just got my Ipsy Glam bag in today, I have 2 new products that I got in, so I can show you. This is a bronzer from Nomad Cosmetics. I actually have it swatched on my hand still. But this one here has a really nice gap on the one side. If I can get it the hell out of the box. Oops, your ass out of it. Thank you. Cheesy Pete. So it has a really nice gap around the one side, and I will show it to you. If you look right along this top edge, there's a really nice gap there. If I can get the camera to focus. The mirror just started, I can hear it. But there's a really decent gap, and I'm gonna grab one of my little, I'll drop it. It's a little spatula that I have, but if you look up here, there's a pretty decent sized gap right along this edge that the tool that I just showed you would be easy enough to go into. But depending on if this pan is made out of aluminum or tin or steel, this might be easy to get out, it might be difficult to get out. So I wanted to show you the gap process on that. And then talking about pans, the pans themselves that the eyeshadows or blushes or bronzers or highlighters come in also make a big difference in, number one, how much heat you have to use, how difficult they are to get out of the pan or the product that you've got. Because I found that the aluminum pans, all they wanted to do was go bloop and fold in on themselves. And I will show you an example of that. This is my blush from Dirty Little Secrets. It's called Kitty Pink. And if you look, it is completely warped. And then on this edge, you can see where there's like marred spots on it. And it did shatter the blush. This is an aluminum pan, and it like dented in the side when I was trying to pry it out. And I had a heck of a time getting this to actually come out. So this is one thing that you need to keep in mind when you're depotting something, that even though the glue is no longer holding it in that spot, trying to get it out of the packaging can be difficult. And I will show you the packaging for that in just a second. Let me get that out. Stay. Okay, so this is the packaging that it came in. This is the Dirty Little Secrets. I even took the label off of it and stuck it on there because it actually was still sticky. Thankfully, this one didn't warp. It did burn a little bit, and some of the things I did notice that like melted the sides of it. But it's pretty solid in here, and there is a little piece here that you can like pry up if you wanted to, and then just take this one piece out and heat that instead of heating the whole thing. And there's a few of the eyeshadows that I did that with. Let me see if I can find one. Here's one from Colored Rain. So it's a nice, Colored Rain shadows are amazing, by the way. But this one here, I actually literally just pried, and watch it won't come out. It just pops out. And this is what the pan sits in. So it made it easier to just heat this than heat the whole thing. So, because this was melting, my flat iron was melting it because of the density of the type of plastic in here. So that was another thing I wanted to mention so that you guys can keep that in mind. And since I have video premiere going on. I'm going to stop this and then I will come back and finish recording here as soon as that's done. Okay, my premiere is over. And the funny thing is one of my subscribers said that they had questions about this anyways, so she's glad that I was recording this. Okay, so this past Shop My Stash beginning of November month, I did go ahead and pull items in that I had depotted. Oh, they just fell on my leg. Ah! My kitty pink shadow just pinked on my knee. I guess we won't hold it that direction. So these are some of these were already singles, and some of these I had taken out of packaging. And I wanted to show you all of the products so far. I've got a few in here. I've got this palette, and again, the majority of these were already singles. We have a casualty. It broke. And it's all over the floor. But I can show you how I fix it. Alright, pipette, isopropyl alcohol. And let me make sure I have something the right size that can fit in that. That'll work. Paper towel. And I'm going to sweep the floor really quick before I step in any of this. Oh my god, there's eyeshadow everywhere. And this is a cream shadow that just broke. So I'm surprised it broke. All right. Shadow cleaned up. Let me move you guys down. Maybe this direction. Okay. So I'm going to take this, let's see if I can move you guys closer so you can see what I'm doing. So I drop the alcohol in. Now some people, they'll take the time and they'll crush this entire thing up and repress it. It just depends on what your preference is. So then I take a finger and I smoosh it all around. Now I did lose a little bit of shadow when I dropped it on the floor. That happens. So what I'm trying to do is just flatten this out and fill in any holes and any cracks. And now you can see the shade. Okay, and then I did put a little bit too much alcohol in it. I would usually use about half that, but I got a little alcohol crazy. All right, and now I'm gonna fold this over. Feel where the pan is, and then I'm just gonna take this lid, this pixie lid, and I'm find where it's at on here, and then press down. And what this does is it allows the alcohol to absorb into the paper towel. Now, if you have something that's a little bit smaller in diameter, because this is actually right about the same size as that pan, you can get something that's a tad smaller. Let's see if I have a little too small. Okay, that'll work. This is actually just a mask. It's a face mask. It's got a little bit of a domed in here, so it'll push up a little bit. So I'm going to move it to a different spot. Find where it is, and then I'm going to set this directly on top of it, grab the tube, and then I'm going to apply pressure. And again, what this does is it presses the shadow down into the pan a little bit more firmly so that it's a little bit more compact in the actual pan. And that is how I usually fix a shadow. You can also like I said, this is a cream shadow. It should have just pressed back in on its own, but for whatever reason, and this shadow's, it's fallen a couple of times, so it is what it is. And it came in cardboard packaging, so it's probably dry. So that's how I fix shadows when they break, is I do this. get you guys put back. All right, crisis averted. So this little guy, he doesn't sit 100% perfectly in here. So I need to probably put a magnet on the back of him because he doesn't like to stay. And I'll probably have to go ahead and do that. These little things are handy. They really are. And they've got like a little sticker. It's like a double-sided stick tape thing on one side. And then you just kind of plop it on the back. And it's magnetized enough because this is an aluminum pan. Aluminum is not magnetic. All right, that's better. Let me see if I can find that little guy's home. Thankfully they're empty. No, not that one. That's the one in my camera, right? Aha. It's called Envy from Hikari. It does say it's a cream pigment. This is where it came from. There's the little clamshell that came in. I'm gonna see if I can swipe the sticker off of here so I can stick it on the back of that shadow too. And that's what I did, was I tried to see if I could peel the stickers off whatever packaging that came in. And that's why I'm so shocked that it just crumbled the way that it did, because it is a cream shadow. The freaking magnet just stayed on the pan. Maybe with the sticker over it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it back on here and then just press really hard to try and get all of them to stick to each other, be friends. Hopefully it'll work. I also now have a label for it. It's a really pretty like golden green olive shade from Hikari. So anyways, so what I did was some of these shadows, like that one, it just came in a little clamshell, and I just literally just popped it right out. Now some of the other ones, like my Elizabeth Mott one that I pulled thinking it was that one first. This was a mermaid teal. Is that you? Nope, that's Shimoni. Anyways, I have another one called Mermaid Teal, and it came in here, and there was like glue adhesive in here to keep it in. But some of them, like this one here, this is the foiled again. This is in the shade Cahoots. This is from the Balm, and it was like glued into this. So if I show you the shadow, this one here I need to like clean the cardboard off the back of it. But this is the shadow that came in here, and I literally just pried it out, and it's magnetic. So at least I know the Balm uses pretty good pans. And then I have the What's the Tea from the Balm as well, and that is this lavender shade right here that is like stuck on the side. Now this one I also didn't have to use anything to make it magnetic. The pan itself was already magnetic. So just out of those shadows, these are like the packaging for it right here. But I wanted to show you that a lot of these like shadows and stuff, this is all the packaging just for the eyeshadows that I depotted. Now, of course, this is the box that the Colored Rain shadows came in. So those are in here as well. But here's the actual Colored Rain packaging, and this is the one that I first showed you where this like pops out. So, you know, there's quite a bit of like stuff. I actually enjoy getting them like this in these little like cardboard envelope things. And I do have this shadow actually in my Shop My Stash this month. This is the Boho shade from Itsy. Okay, my card got full. That's like the first ever. I filled an entire 64 gigabyte SD card. So I really like it when I get like single shadows like this from, and this came from an Ipsy glam bag, and this is from the company Itsy, I-T-T-S-E. And I really do like the shade. I'm actually wearing it on one of my eyes right now. So I like it when they do packaging like this, or even these little like plastic clamshells, instead of doing things like this. Number one, these are a pain in the butt to get product out of. Number two, they take up so much freaking space compared to this. This is just a little piece of cardboard, and this is just plastic. And shadows pop out of both of them super easily. So it's amazing how much packaging there is just for the eyeshadows that I depotted. Now, to go into what I depotted all of my bronzers and my blushes. Now, some of these were already single pans, but all of my bronzers and blushes, I depotted those. And I did that in the first video. I will leave both videos linked down below. And then there's a couple of bronzers and blushes and some face powders in here. And I will show you all of the garbage, literally, this is all of my single shadows, all of it right here. Single blushes, bronzers, highlights, shadows, they're all right here. This is the box that I use to contain all of the bronzer stuff. So you figure eyeshadows were in here. This is all the packaging left over from doing the depotting like this. This had a bronzer, a blush, and 2 highlights in it, and this is all the packaging that was here for this. I'm like, seriously? This is a lot of packaging. Now, Ofra also does these little Godette like envelopes, so I really appreciate these. Again, thankfully it was empty. And then this one here came from Lottie London, and it has like a little single like plastic clamshell and then a little cardboard box. So this is also not too bad, not too much packaging. But there was some packaging that I got that was absolutely asinine. Like this one here, trying to get it out, all it wanted to do was melt. This is a City Color and it had three blushes in it. I understand it's only worth like $5. The Tarte Park Avenue Princess was actually pretty easy to get out, but a lot of these and stuff, they were hard to get out because of either the glue or the packaging, or you can't get the tool in around them to get them out. And then the Balm always does things like this. All these like little cardboard things, and they are cute. Do not get me wrong, they're cute. But when you have something in them that's this size, I mean, literally it's smaller than a dime, but you have all of this packaging for something that's the size of a dime. Like literally, this is it. All this little square space in here, that's it. These I was able to pry out with no heat. So I was like, what a waste. Let me put all these back in here, and I'll stop rattling, maybe. Unless it irritates you, and I'll just keep doing it. Alright, so all of my empty packaging are in these 2 boxes. This is not only like the packaging that they came in, but the plastic that they were in, that kind of thing. Now, when I used to sell single shadows, they came in things like this. This is how my lab used to send them to me, and then I would divvy them up into little individual clamshells, like the Lottie London blush. So this is how they would come, and I would get 12 in like this, in this little clear plastic container, and I would put them in the display just like this so that people could see the colors through them. And it even says pans, $5 each, right on here. And that was how I sold my pan eyeshadows. And then if they wanted it in a clamshell, an individual clamshell, I did that. If they had a magnetic palette, I would slip it in a Ziploc bag for jewelry, and I would close it up, and I would write on it what it was, and I would sell it just like that, depending on how they wanted it packaged, depended on what happened. I also used to sell these magnetic palettes for, I think, $25 or $35 empty. These cost me $15 each to make. Or to have made, I should say, because the lab made them and then sent them to me. The mirrors are glass instead of plastic. So this is real glass in here, not like the synthetic plastic stuff that you see in most cardboard packaging. But I think all in all, the depotting process for me was actually quite easy. If it's in something that's cardboard, you might not have to heat it up in order to break it loose from the packaging. Like with the Balm packaging, I just kind of pried it out, and you just have to worry about cleaning up the hot glue on the back of it, whether it's peeling it off or heating it up or getting it wet with alcohol, or whatever works for you. The cardboard packaging I find is a lot easier to manipulate and get the shadows and product out of it than the plastic packaging. Plastic packaging is a little bit more difficult because it's wedged in there pretty good. It's like pretty tight fitting, like I showed you with the Cargo bronzer. So those are things that you need to keep in mind when doing this. You can do it without heat depending on the packaging. If you don't worry about breaking your shadows and stuff like that, then go right ahead and start prying your stuff up and have shadow all over the place. I mean, it's really up to you. Now, the things that came like this in my Ipsy Glam bag, I know I pay X amount of money a month for those subscriptions, and I know a lot of these products did come from them. So it's not like it's a huge loss like with that the Hikari shadow, to lose one of those, because I know that those range between $1 and $5 for the shadows. But if it's a shadow I really like the colored rain shadows that I spent extra money to get them, they cost me $3 a piece. They retail for $6.99, and I know they're amazing shadows. I'm going to be super careful getting those out of packaging. So it's all about personal preference, how much time you have. The whole process for the eyeshadows took me about 1 hour and 45 minutes total from start to finish. I did use, like somebody said, use wax paper. I used parchment paper. I just, instead of like the one girl I used to watch, or I tried to watch to see if I could link her videos, and I didn't care for how she did it. She would like rip off a big sheet of parchment paper or wax paper, depending on if she had one or the other. She used wax paper one video and parchment paper the other. And I was like, okay, but wax paper is going to burn into your flat iron or your iron or whatever. I have seen people use regular like iron, like a clothes iron to get these to warm up. I have seen people use steam to do it. I think the flat iron is probably the easiest and probably the safest. I've even seen people use hot plates. I know that company Z Palette came out with a weird hot plate thing that was expensive that you could use to just kind of set your palette on, and it heats it. It's supposed to heat it evenly, and then the glue is supposed to help loosen up, and then it'll lift off easily if you do it that way. That's the whole reason why you use heat versus not using heat. So I know I went ahead and decided to just use heat, and I tried them. If I stuck my tool in and I could pry them up without heat, I didn't use heat. But if I needed, like if I noticed there was a tug and it wouldn't give when I stuck my tool in, then I knew I would need heat. But also keeping in mind how hot your temperatures are for, you know, trying to loosen the glue. All you're trying to do is melt it enough so that it's pliable, so that you can pull it out of the packaging. You don't want to like set it on fire. So that's why if you watch when I'm like, I have it on an eyeshadow, I'll like continually like move it in the parchment paper, and I usually grab onto the parchment paper and maneuver it that way so that it doesn't stay, number one, in one spot too long. I'm constantly heating it and moving it so that it has more of an even heat instead of a direct heat. I want it to, and I'll hold it in one spot for like the count of 5, sometimes 10, and then I move it and I count to 5 or 10, and I move it and I count to 5 or 10, and I move it until I realize I can smell when the plastic is at a certain temperature, because I can, you know, plastic when it burns, it's toxic. So when plastic starts to heat up, it releases fragrance, and I personally can smell that. So just like I can tell how hot my flat iron is just by how it smells. I usually use my nose to tell when things are done, especially when it comes to cooking. I can tell you, I don't even have to set a timer for a cake. When I'm baking a cake, I can usually tell when it's done just by my nose. I can be like, yep, needs 10 more minutes. And I'll set a timer for 10 minutes, and then I'll go pull it out. And it's perfect and golden and fluffy and perfect. Same thing with like making chicken or anything like that. Anything that I'm cooking, like I can even smell when water boils. Just putting water in a pot and boiling it, nothing in there, no salt, no spices, no nothing, just water in a pot. I can tell you when a pot is ready to have product put in it, if it's boiling, and if it's on a slow boil, a rolling boil, or a high boil, just by the way the steam smells. And I could be at the other end of the house from the kitchen and still tell you, Dad, it's time for the spaghetti, go toss it in, it's ready. He's like, how do you know? I was like, I can smell the water. He's like, there's only water in the pan, how do you smell that? I was like, I have a really big nose, it works really well. And in some situations it's really bad. But I can usually tell by the smell of things how hot they are. If you do not have a schnoz like mine or a pretty good sniffer, if fragrances do not bother you, then you might have to go by and just counting to 5 or 10, like I said, will also keep you regulated on how long it sits in a specific area, those kinds of things. So that is kind of like a breakdown on depotting just from my perspective of it. I really wish Georgia Harris had left up her depotting videos. I guess I will try and reach out to her and see if she has them still on her channel, if it's just unlisted. If the playlist is still marked as unlisted and she didn't delete the videos, because when you delete a video on YouTube that's already got a certain amount of views, not only do they take that money back away from you if you're monetized, but they take those views off your channel. So I doubt she would have deleted the actual videos. She probably marked them as private or unlisted. And if it's unlisted, then I should be able to, if she sends me the link to it, leave it in the description box below. I don't know why she would have marked them unlisted, but she did a really good job explaining the process, talking through things and things like that. And so I'm really kind of hoping if I reach out to her that she might respond and let me know if it's you know, available to be linked, because then that way you guys can benefit from her knowledge and her hits and misses and tries and fails and that kind of thing. Because like I said, I learned a lot from watching her videos. I learned more watching her videos than I did other people's videos. She was very good at explaining things and going through things detail by detail, showing you how she did things and every step of the way. So I am Rebecca Oberstadt. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If when I get enough of like these things and stuff, if you guys want to see me record another depotting video, then I'll be more than happy to do it. It does take over an hour usually, depending on how many I have. I mean, each one of these boxes took me over an hour. The pink box, I think it took me like 2.5 hours to record that, and I killed the battery twice on my camera. So it's a lengthy process, which is why I speed them up and then just put music behind it, because you guys don't want to hear the clicking and the peeling and the popping and the everything else that goes on noise-wise for that. I mean, if you want something like that, then I'm sure that would make a really good ASMR video, but that stuff drives me insane, so I really don't want to listen to it when I edit. It's just how it is, especially if I'm speeding it up. So then you just hear all that shuffling noise and the popping and the pulling and the snapping and everything else that goes on. You're hearing it at a heightened rate, which also raises the pitch, which drives me even more insane. So just one of those things. I'm also sound sensitive. I'm scent sensitive and I'm sound sensitive when it comes to a lot of things. So I cannot do ASMR videos. I record the hairbrushing videos for people because they requested them, but I think I'm going to be stopping that in the new year because nobody's watching them, or if they do watch them, they only watch a minute of it. So there's that. That, and I don't enjoy watching them or listening to them. It makes my skin crawl. Just hearing somebody do the ASMR stuff and all the various forms of it, it literally makes my skin crawl, gives me goosebumps, it makes me want to hurl, it gives me a headache. So I have a very adverse reaction to ASMR videos. So hopefully this is helpful to somebody. If this video is helpful to you, please let me know in the comment section down below. And by liking this video, you help share it to other people that might be interested in this as well. And just for fun today, I want you to leave me an apple emoji to let me know you made it this far. And I'm Rebecca Oberstadt. I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Hopefully you have a fantastic day or night wherever you are, and I will see you then. Bye.